Well, joining me now is Ivan Kaufman, Arbor Realty Trust CEO. Arbor is a real estate trust that provides loan origination and servicing for commercial multifamily properties across the U.S. Ivan, I wanted to start a little broader here because you get hot frequency reads like today with the PMI and ISM in the U.S., but yet you still have, 17 million people, 30 million people on unemployment. We're still waiting for more checks from the government to get into people's pockets. How do these two things play out in your world?
Listen, we're mostly on the multifamily side and single family built for rent. And these are significant factors, the extension of the CARES Act, people having enough money to pay rent. We're watching very, very closely. But as you're aware, people have been paying their rent. On the multifamily side, collections are only off 1% to 2%. So it's been, despite this dislocation, it's been an extremely great performing asset.
Right, which surprised everybody. And I wonder if we don't get a $600 extension of the unemployment benefits, when do you start to think we're going to see the rent deferrals and when would it trickle down to you?
I think it's going to be fairly immediate. I think come the fall, there's a large level of concern. You have to watch that as well as COVID. The people go back to work. It's a combination. You have very high unemployment right now, above 10%. And if people start to come back to work, because COVID gets under control, that can possibly mitigate the situation. But those are the two factors that we're watching extremely closely to see how, the multifamily asset class works and if people are able to pay their rent.
Give us a sense in the area about demographics, because the flare-up is, the flare-up a couple weeks ago in the Sun Belt states. Now, of course, New Jersey is getting hit again. The rhetoric a couple weeks ago was, flee the cities, go to the suburbs. The rhetoric had been, flee New York, go to Florida. What are you seeing now?
I mean, it's clear. All the urban areas are of great concern. People are not going back to the cities. Home ownership is at the highest rate now, approaching 68%, the highest rate since, prior to the Great Recession. So the trend started before COVID, and now it's been accelerated. People are moving out of the cities. The social unrest factor, the school factor, all of these are leading to people moving to the suburbs. And that's why home ownership is up. And even, people renting homes in the suburbs is up. So that's clearly the trend.
Yeah, in a big way. Although my friend just listed her apartment in New York and it got sold in like 5 days. So there is also that, which brings me to supply, which is what Cheryl Palmer was talking about. Is there the inventory for all that movement?
Well, first of all, I hope, sounds like your friend got very lucky.
She did. She really did.
It's a tough environment. People are not in the cities. They're not shopping for apartments, but the supply is very limited in the suburbs. There are not enough homes, and I think you're going to see some price appreciation on homes. You're already seeing price appreciation on the rental of homes. So clearly, if you're in the suburbs and you own a home and you have to sell, you're going to do okay. If you're looking for a home, the inventory is very limited right now.
So then that brings us to the commercial world. I mean, you're mostly obviously in mortgage REITs, but for the commercial land, how bad is it?
So let me give you a little perspective, because there's a lot of good news and some bad news. First of all, the entire industry is a $14 trillion industry, and there are three asset classes that are doing extraordinarily well. Multifamily, as you know, single-family rental, as well as industrial. 60% of the asset classes are performing exceptional. Clearly, the other asset classes are hit by COVID or hit by other factors. You have hospitality, which is suffering, and you have retail suffering. And then you have kind of offices in the middle. There's certain benefits on the office side. Right now, there's a boom in, office in the suburbs, and we'll see what happens in the urban area, what really happens to individual behavior. And we won't know that until the next 6 to 12 months rolls out.
Well, that's interesting that you said that, because the narrative is that, forget it. No one's ever going to go back to work in a big office building. They're going to stay home. But is the narrative a little bit nuanced? I feel like, satellite offices, for example, like in areas in New Jersey, so someone won't have to come into New York City, for example. I mean, how quickly will that shift?
I think it's too early to tell. You have so many different opinions. And let's not think in the short term. Let's not think about what's going to happen in the next 12 months. We're in a dislocated period. Nobody's sure what's going to happen until, the virus gets under control. And you're dealing with a lot of counterbalancing issues, right? Everybody's saying, okay, there's going to be less density in offices, so you need more space. And other people are saying not many people are going to go back to the city. I think it's going to be a mixed bag. But clearly, there are a lot of people evaluating, urban offices and then suburban satellites. There will be some shift in behavior, but I don't believe it's going to be as dramatic as people say it's going to be.
Really interesting perspective. Appreciate it, Ivan. Ivan Kaufman, Arbor Trust Realty CEO. Thank you very much. And just recapping that quick data.